Welcome friends to the video. I hope you are doing really good today. And in today's video, I'm gonna talk about emotional numbness and DPDR. I actually get a lot of comments and a lot of questions about this, asking if it's a symptom and will you get better? How do you get better? And there's sort of two types of emotional numbness, I guess you could categorize them as. And the first one is complete emotional numbness. So you really just don't feel anything. You don't feel happy, you don't feel sad, whatever sort of happens, you're just sort of just going along at almost like a flat line, just going through the motions. And the other type is where you're experiencing more negative emotions than positive ones. So in this video, I'm going to address what's going on here and some things that you can do to help you get your emotions back. Let's begin by talking about where you're feeling more sad than you are positive. And now this is actually a really, really common one. A common expression is you're just having one of those days, just for some reason, just everything seems to go wrong and you're left a little bit deflated and a little bit sad. Now, you can sort of say that when you are going through DPDR, almost every day is like one of those days because you're not back to the amazing person that you were before. You might be mourning who you've become and who you've lost. You might be worried about if you're going to be able to get back to where you were before. Are you going to be able to feel things again? So it's only natural that when you do have DPDR and you're thinking about how to get out of it and it's having such a big impact on your life that you are going to be feeling a little bit more sad than normal. And it might not just be sad. You might be feeling frustrated. You might be getting angry more. So you could sort of look at it as you're seeing things through doom and gloom glasses. And maybe in more technical ways, you've got a bit of a confirmation bias here. So, like the brain receives a lot of information, like millions and millions of pieces of information, every minute and every second. And you've got to have some kind of way to make sense of it all. Otherwise, you're just going to go crazy. So what it does, and this happens to everybody, is that it runs it through a filter. And this filter is made up by, you could call it almost your personality. Like it's made up by your past experiences, everything that's ever been said to you, everything that you've ever said, your beliefs, your ideals, your upbringing, your morals, your values, all this type of stuff shapes the way that you see the world. And a really classic example of this, and one that's really easy to understand, is that if you're thinking of buying a new car, let's just say a Ford car, you research them, you look at all the different types and price ranges and all the features that you want on it, and then eventually you go and buy a Ford car. And what you probably find is that when you're driving home, you're just noticing all the other Fords on the road. You're not noticing all the other brands. And this is a classic example of confirmation bias. Eventually, your brain starts to filter all this information which is coming in it through that sort of negative lens, that negative bias. So that's why everything, maybe it's lost its shine, like nothing seems as good as it used to anymore. And maybe you don't like the things that you used to like anymore, or maybe you're finding you're getting bored more, or you get sad easier, or you get angry easier. All this type of stuff. It's because right now your brain's filtering it all that way. It's perhaps distorting some of the stuff that's coming into it. So for example, if you write a text to somebody and they don't message you back straight away, there's a million reasons why that could happen, but I bet you're saying like, oh, they don't like me, or oh, maybe I said something wrong, or whatever. Your brain tries to make sense of that and immediately goes to that thing. Or it can even add information. And this often happens with ruminating, where you're thinking about what could possibly happen, or you're thinking about something that happened in the past. And anyway, so all of this stuff, bottom line, is all the information you're getting, it's running through that filter right now. So that's maybe why, that is why you're feeling more sad and you're feeling more down and all this type of stuff, rather than the happy stuff. And I'll get into some things that you can do about that a little bit later on. But now let's talk about complete emotional numbness. So you don't really feel bad and you don't really feel good either. And I've experienced this, and it's not a good place to be at all. And so the sort of word that you can use to describe this is apathy. So apathy just means you don't feel anything. And it's an incredibly bad thing to be in, because it doesn't matter what's happening to you, whether it's super good or it's super bad. You're just like, whatever. Oh yeah, great. Oh, look at that amazing sunset. Okay, wow, great. And so what's happening, particularly if you're suffering from DPDR or, sort of prolonged stress and, anxiety and this type of stuff, is that the brain, it gets ground down. It starts to get good at stuff, like the more you do something, the better you get at it. And right now you're getting better at not feeling any type of emotion. It's not that you don't want to, obviously you want to, but the brain likes to keep doing what it's already doing. And this can sometimes be why it's a bit of a challenge to get out of this. So the brain likes to keep doing what it's doing. And if what it's doing is sort of not feeling anything, then it's just going to want to keep doing that because that's the norm. And here is the key to get out of apathy and also to shift your sort of negative stuff more towards positive stuff. Now, a lot of people might actually say, well, just think positive, just think positive thoughts. But I mean, one, if you're going through apathy, then you can't just think positive thoughts. I mean, you can, but you're not really going to feel anything from it. But more on that later, because it is actually a little bit of a trick. But you want to be realistic, okay? So let's talk more about, to begin with, let's talk about going from feeling, you still have feelings, but they're mostly more negative. So all you've got to do is your brain has just biased itself to that point. Now you've got to just start to train it again. You've got to get it more over here, so it's a little bit more of an even balance, and then hopefully more this side, eventually just back to normality and finding joy in things again. And so what you're doing here is you're changing your filter. So everything that used to sort of go through a negative lens, it's more going through a normal lens. And it can feel really overwhelming and really difficult, and like what's the point of even doing this when you start? But it's like anything, practice makes perfect. And in the brain's case, practice makes it want to keep doing it once you've learned it. So here are some steps that you can do to help you. The first thing you want to do is check your thoughts. What are you actually thinking right now? Are you just thinking, oh my God, my life sucks, I'm never going to get out of this, and it's horrible, and all that type of stuff? I've been there, I know what it feels like, and it can get exhausting, and it just feeds upon itself. So the first thing you've got to do is check those thoughts. Is it actually true? Thoughts are just thoughts, and probably 99% of the thoughts in your mind aren't actually true. The filter, the adding stuff, you're probably just adding a whole load of nonsense at the moment, which isn't actually true. So what you need to do is you need to catch yourself. Now, you can't necessarily control the initial thought that comes in, because sometimes thoughts just pop in, but you can control what you do after that. So if you want to engage with the thought, then you're choosing to do that. If you want to ruminate on the thought, then you're choosing to do that. If you want to say to yourself, thanks brain for giving me that thought, then you're choosing to do that. Or if you want to say to yourself, okay, well, maybe that is a possibility, but maybe there is a different possibility as well, then you're choosing to do that. And really, it's down to choice. So you might be saying, oh, well, Dan, I can't just choose to think happy. And that's totally true. You can't just snap your fingers and just instantly be happy. Otherwise, everyone in the world would just always be happy. But what you can do is you can make that conscious decision to go, okay, yep, I've got that negative thought. All right, it's just a thought. It doesn't mean it's true. I'm just going to get on with my day. Or another thing maybe you could do is say, okay, I've got this negative thought. Oh, that's a really interesting thought. Thanks for giving that to me, brain. Or another thing you can do if you're getting a negative thought, you can go, okay, cool, my brain's doing that negative thinking thing again. I'm just going to let it do its thing and just get on with my day. Now, you see, what you're actually doing here is you're starting to train your brain not to attach itself to all these thoughts. And then when you do that, it means that there's going to be space to attach itself to other things. And this is what it's all about, right? It's all about making space and just lifting off the layers and making space, and then boom, at the end of it is the glorious you that you want to be. This is something that you might feel like you're forever checking your thoughts. It might be 500 times a day where you've got to do this, but that's fine. Do it 500 times a day. It's your choice. Eventually it's going to get to less and less per day and less per day until in the end you're just sort of doing it automatically and it's not even a bother anymore. And then before you know it, you're not always sad the whole time, and you're actually being able to see the good things in life, and you are able to see the more positive things. It's just going to naturally go there because you're training your brain and you're shifting your filter to see all these, to see the actual big picture rather than just a little bit of it, which is the negative bit. And if you're not feeling anything at all, there's no emotions whatsoever, then we've got to jumpstart or kickstart things back into motion again. You can't just sit around and just hope that they come back. You got to do stuff to do this. And the great thing is that there are a lot of things that you can do. So one of the first things that you can do is, I guess a phrase could be fake it till you make it. And what I mean by this is if you've got an event or your friends have invited you out to a party or anything like that, just say, all right, well, I'm going to go, and even if I don't feel anything, it doesn't matter, I'm still going to go. Another thing that you can do too is write a list of all the things that you used to enjoy. Just write down 10 things, whatever it is that brought you joy or made you laugh or made you feel compassionate or, any of the positive emotions. Just write them down and look through and read them and, try and picture them in your mind. And then the next day, do it again. Write a list again, and then write a list again, and then again, and then again, and then again. And now look at the list and see if, the common things are around that, and then start doing those things as well. Even if you're not, feeling happy or you're not feeling sad at this point, just do it anyway, because you used to like it. So what you're doing now is you're sort of filling up your bucket of things that you enjoy, and eventually, over time, you will start to enjoy them again. You'll start to break through. Your brain will start to engage with them again. And take heart, because I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to have apathy. And it sucks. Your life just almost hits pause. And the way that I got out of it was doing these things that I'm, sort of telling you. And I learned all about self-help and self-development and how the mind works and, everything that's going on. And with all this knowledge and all this stuff, I just started to get interested in it. And then I'd start to look forward to researching it. And then I wouldn't have to research it so much because I was doing the things that the research was telling me to do. And eventually you just sort of come out of it. So take heart that it is possible to get your feelings back, and it is possible to change the negative feelings into more positive ones over time. It's all about the filter, and it's all about training your brain to enjoy these things again. Essentially, that's what you're doing. You're learning to enjoy them again, and eventually over time you will start enjoying them. I promise. I did. I've helped lots of people through this themselves, and if they can do it, then you can do it. And really the only thing stopping you from doing it, as harsh as this might sound, is you. You are the driver of your journey, or the flyer of your aircraft, or whatever it is, whatever the expression is. It's you. Nobody can do this for you. You have to do it. You have to make that conscious choice. And I know that sometimes it could be difficult. And look, if it is too difficult for you, then I do recommend that you go and talk to somebody about it, whether that's a counselor or a therapist, or if you want to talk to me and you together can figure out your journey through this. And, we can talk a lot more in depth about what is actually going on. It's totally fine to get help, and eventually you will get better. So that's it, my friends. I really hope you've gotten a bit of information from this video, and it has given you some direction about where you can go and what you can do. And until next time, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.